Cole right back here on Championship Wednesday with Steve Wyche and Judy Batista. Live coverage in Thousand Oaks. Sean McVay talking NFC title tilt. Here he is. Open your ears.
Coach, can you talk a little bit about how you and your organization are leaving no stone unturned in getting preparation for this championship game like the tent outside? And also, why do you think some people feel there is a little bit of a rivalry between you and Sean Payton?
Well, the first thing is you kind of got to make the decision just based on the circumstances that we have. If it does rain, let's provide the right resources so guys can, utilize the walkthroughs, different things like that in a covered area where we're not getting soaked. Because really there's not a lot of indoors in proximity unless we wanted to travel somewhere else. So we felt like for us to try to keep some, keep a regulated schedule in terms of what our players are comfortable with their normal rhythm and routine, we wanted to do that. And then as far as a rivalry, I think he's been doing it at a really high level for a lot longer than I have. So I've got a whole lot of respect for Coach Payton. He's an outstanding coach, clearly referenced by the way that his team's playing this year, how they've played over the course of his career when he's been leading the Saints. So I don't think we're in that category yet. We've got to do things for a lot longer to be able to be mentioned in that same breath.
Good to see you, Coach.
Hey, how you doing, Chris?
Hey, when you call the plays, when you're on the field during the game, are you also walking down the field looking at what the defense is doing? Is that something that process is going as late as you're talking into the headset to Jared?
Not really. I mean, you're looking at it so that when guys come off, you can communicate. But that's not something that we're utilizing during the course of the game or anything like that. I mean, like we've talked about, sometimes you give certain information and you want to utilize that ability to communicate if that's something that, Jared feels like is necessary. But in a lot of instances, we're in the huddle. Sometimes we're at the line of scrimmage, whether it be 2-minute or no huddle, where you actually have to communicate a play, whether that be through visual hand signals or through the verbal headset. But sometimes you're looking at it, but, that certainly isn't exclusive to how we operate.
And will you be limited with the noise? I know, Sean, you and Jared can call the play at the line of scrimmage or all of them, but there's a lot of key words. So
Yeah.
with the noise, obviously, hand signals, physical things that you'll be.
Oh, yeah. That's a huge advantage that, a great atmosphere and environment for the home team provides, that it definitely forces you to adjust and adapt, and it limits your ability to communicate a lot of things that you would be able to do otherwise if you were at home. So that's definitely something that we have to be aware of. Fortunately, we've played in this environment earlier in the year, but I would imagine that it's going to be an even better atmosphere just based on the magnitude of the game.
Sean, as far as the Saints receivers, how do you feel? Is it a challenge for your secondary?
Absolutely. I think they do a great job. Drew does an excellent job spreading it around, not only to the receivers, but the tight ends. They get the running backs involved in the pass game. And then, clearly the production from Michael Thomas has been outstanding. Big game last week. He's really been extremely productive throughout the course of the year. When you look at his numbers, anytime he's targeted, the catch rate that he has is almost unheard of. So he's playing at a really high level. Obviously, the accuracy that Drew delivers the ball with and his ability to read, recognize, and move and manipulate coverage makes it really difficult. So it's definitely going to be a challenge for our defense and our secondary for sure.
Sean, two questions. First, after the last game, Marcus Peters had some pretty colorful comments about Sean Payton. I wanted to ask you, have you talked to Marcus about that? And is that going to be a distraction this week? And then secondly, what makes you think that Jared Goff is ready to step into a championship situation and win?
Yeah, well, the first thing is I think it was all in good fun. I think there's a competitiveness that exists. There's a lot of dialogue that goes back and forth where when you have relationships or you have a history with people, and I think Marcus was having fun with it. And I know that he has a whole lot of respect for Coach Payton and the Saints. But, part of that banter, as long as it doesn't take away from our ability to execute, I think can be fun as long as it doesn't get out of hand. And I don't think anybody took it out of context where it was anything more than just, hey, we're fortunate we get a chance to see these guys again. And that's really what it is. And I don't think that'll be a distraction at all from Marcus's ability to play, but sometimes that can be fun. I'll talk to guys that or have a relationship with as well. And then as far as for Jared, I don't think any moment's too big for him. I think he's just going to go about his normal weekly rhythm this week. Certainly we don't shy away from, what is at stake in terms of what we can accomplish, but we also know what a great challenge it is. But I just think that, like you've heard us say over and over, Gary, he really doesn't allow himself to get too high, too low. I don't ever really feel like any moment's too big for him, and that's why you feel confident that it's a great challenge, but you do feel confident in his ability to perform and lead our offense at a high level on Sunday.
Sean, obviously, when you played down there, you didn't have Aqib Talib the first time around. We've all seen how the defense has been enhanced with him coming back. Can you give us a little bit about what you see off the field, or is there something in your heart or a story that really speaks to what he brings this team off the field and in the locker room?
Yeah, I think just his experience, and then how he's a guy that's had so many great experiences, and then what I also respect a lot about him is that he's secure enough in himself to be able to use some of those things that you learn from in a positive way to be able to mentor some of his other teammates. But he's done such a great job. He's such a smart football player. You know, what people don't realize, my first year in coaching was Aqib's rookie year in Tampa. So we were actually together, and just watching his growth and maturation, and then you always knew he was going to be a great player. But to see the talent match up with the preparation, the way that he's been able to sustain over such a long period of time, playing a cornerback spot, his ability to communicate, the way that he studies, his situational awareness. I mean, you could go on, but I also think that he's a charismatic guy. I mean, he's fun to be around. You're always laughing with him. If you're in not a great mood and you want to get in a better mood, go hang out with Aqib Talib. He'll get you laughing. And he's one of those guys that just has a great presence about himself, and you can't help but feel good about yourself anytime you're around him. And he's been huge for a football team.
Sean, some of the offensive linemen after the Cowboys game said they were so well prepared that they knew the Cowboys' tells on the defensive line, that sort of thing. In terms of that preparation, how big of an impact does Aaron Kromer have when it comes to making that game plan and taking advantage of those tells?
Yeah, you know, I think he does a great job. I think our guys probably thought they knew a little bit more than what they did, too. You know, so I think there's an element of, you know, there's some regulated things, but there was a handful of instances where we thought something was going to be one thing and it ended up being another. So that is part of the preparation you study. I think a lot of in a lot of ways, you know, you try to do a good job, whether it's offense, defense, special teams, from a self-scout standpoint. But then there also is the element of let's line up and play, and even if you do know what we're doing, it's about the fundamentals, the technique, the ability to execute. But Coach Kromer's been outstanding. You know, I've learned so much from him. Couldn't be more thankful to work with a guy like that that's been instrumental in our success. And I know that I've become a better coach from being around him, and the way that he mentors those guys. You know, you just talk to those linemen, ask them what they think about him, and that says as much as you need to know, because he's got great techniques that he's teaching them, but then he's also invested in them as people, where he cares about them. And, you know, that's why he's a phenomenal coach.
Sean, obviously last time you guys were down there you had Cooper Kupp, but now that you don't have him, can you just kind of speak to how your receiving corps has evolved, especially with Gerald and Tyler and Josh Reynolds?
Yeah, those guys have done a great job. You know, certainly we know what a great football player Cooper is. He's always missed anytime he's not out there, but I think it has presented a great opportunity for guys to step up and get some chances and some snaps that they wouldn't have gotten otherwise. Clearly, Josh has been the biggest beneficiary of that, and I think he's done a great job getting better and better. You look at just some of the opportunities, you know, whether he's carrying the football, whether he's blocking and digging out a safety and run support, whether he's winning on a man-to-man route on a 2nd down and 10. You know, he's doing a lot of really good things right now. Gerald Everett continues to get better and better, and like we've said about Tyler Higbee, he's playing like a complete tight end, where he's demonstrating the ability to play in line, in space, making plays in the pass game, protecting, doing a great job blocking. So really those three guys have done a nice job. Certainly we miss our guy Cooper, but it's been good to see those guys grow, and they've gotten a lot better for sure, Lindsey.